fun getting used to creating hierarchies, seeing what would happen. Yeah, question.
On like turning these in on Moodle,
Yes.
the file size is too big for Moodle.
I will try to up that. Let me try to.
Or would you rather send you like a link to a Dropbox?
Let's try Moodle just to get started. But I need to up the size, hopefully to 20 megs.
My file is like 40 megs.
40 megs? Oh my goodness.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
well,
also,
also-
the file size is, according to Dr. Ferrer, very strict. He's tried to, I think in survey, he tried to up it once.
Okay.
And was told, no, we can't stick it in Moodle from a single Dropbox.
Yes, if I can't get this working in Moodle, then I will find some other way for me to see your files.
There's a lot of image files.
Yeah, and the more we do, the bigger it's going to get. There's going to be tons of image files of what's going on. We're going to get to that today. So hopefully I can up the size. I think the Moodle coordinator helped me out with that before in a class. But what I'm looking for, notice all these things over here. This hierarchy is part of a scene. You should see inside your assets a scene object that gets created. It has the Unity symbol. And you should probably have one more in there. I have a lot more right now because I was playing around getting ready for today. But you should have a physics material as an asset. If you look at your directories of where this is, you'll find assets, libraries, project settings. All this stuff is part of your Unity project. I think it was here. Yep, assets. There's all your stuff. So I need all of that stuff so I can just say, hey, Unity, open up this whole new project. Let me look at it. And then I need to pick your scene, and it'll start to run so I can watch your programs. So make sure you zip up this whole directory that you're creating and try to get that to me somehow, either through Moodle, cross our fingers, or through Dropbox or Google Drive or some cloud sharing way to get me your files. Okay, are we good? You've got some experience with Unity. Let's see some other things we could do here. I have a directional light. Something we could do is say lights are not just magical things in the sky, but they are attached to objects. I'm going to pick this sphere over here and add a component of a light. Component rendering light. There is now a light that sphere is broadcasting light in our scene. So let's just watch that happen. It's a moving light. Objects can be lights themselves. Let's see what happened over here in our inspector. A light component showed up. It's a point light. It has a range of 10. You can make that bigger. Brighter light. You can change the color. You can change the filter basically on the light itself. You can change the intensity of that light. Draw a halo around the light, as if there's mist in the scene or not. Yes?
Do you know if this is any more efficient than creating a separate game object light instead of a component?
This one is probably less efficient because it has to calculate as this object moves, how did the light change in the world?
Well, I mean, like you could also attach a game object that was a light to that sphere instead of a component on the light. That's still the same, or I don't know.
I don't know computationally what the cost would be. I think both of them would pretty much do the same thing. You would have an empty object that has a light component, or you have this object that has the light component on it. I think the less objects, the better that you make. The less polygons you have to evaluate, the better. That's my advice for what's going on. But all of them could have lights back and forth. Other things we could do with our scene. We saw, at least what I did, I had the sphere with these two cylinders underneath that said as the sphere moves, the cylinders move. Other things can be rearranged. So I'm going to put my camera as a child of the sphere. It's a game object. And now, as we move, the camera is moving with that object. So that object is stationary for us. And it's like the world is moving around it as it goes. This is the inklings behind how we're going to have cameras follow us around in a game, being a first-person shooter game or a third-person shooter behind us. The camera can do anything that a game object can do. It can be part of a hierarchy. It can have components. It can have scripts. It can do more things than just be a camera. So we're getting there. That looks kind of freaky. So those are some other things we can do just with that basic scene. Okay, so 2 things I want to show today. Let's start fresh. Okay, I'll open you up later. Here's my game. Here's my scene. Empty scene. I want to talk about the materials and the pieces of what we were doing before. We saw we could add physics materials to it to change the physical properties of the object. Now I want to introduce textures and shading. Not going to go into shading completely, but enough so you understand how shading would work. So let's make a cube here. Game object, 3D, make a cube. Here's our cube. Let's make it a little bigger so we can see it. Camera is looking at our cube. Okay, perfect. We want to start making this cube not just a gray box. Gray boxing is wonderful for prototyping. You should spend a lot of time just working on your games that you want to make, making them out of gray boxes and making them out of gray cylinders and stuff. Other engines use oranges to make an orange box. You might have bought the orange box type of games before. That's where Portal came out first. It was part of a set of games called the Orange Box. It's because of this type of prototyping that people do, just making things gray boxed or orange boxed to get a demo feel of what's going on. So a lot of your starts should be like this. But once you know what you're doing and you're like, okay, I like how my game works, now let's make it look pretty, this is the steps you would want to go through. I need to start making a new material. So down inside the assets, I want to create a new material. Not physics material, but a material. And you'll notice that all these objects, they have had materials in them before, and that material has been this default diffuse kind of material. Our new material can have a texture. Sometimes you don't see this. You have to click on the word shader or new material to see the stuff come underneath it. But then you'll see I could pick some kind of color. I want this material to be red. Or I want it to be purple or blue or green or yellow. Let's call this material the grass material. So I've abstracted away from having to talk to every object and say, you're now green. I'm giving them a material. So let's look at this. See where this would go. Box collider on my mesh. That's a physics material.
You can drag it on the cube over in your hierarchy on the left, and it'll automatically all the way to the left.
But you can put it on there.
I can put it in the scene too. Yes, and there it goes. Now I have grass as my choice.